The hydraulic pump's been rebuilt. It's finished. It's complete. These are the parts over here on the right that I replaced. The valve bodies, that's the valves that fit in these two chambers on each side. So you got two here and two here. I replaced those, even though these are in pretty good shape and probably could have been reused. Since I was in there anyway, I thought I'd just put new valves in it. This spring fits behind this valve right here. This is the pressure release valve. Fits in here. This is the new one. Fits in there like that. And then a couple of the cotter pins here and here. And there's another one in the bottom underneath here that I replaced. If you recall from one of my previous videos, this control butterfly right here was frozen up. And I got that working smoothly. Cleaned everything thoroughly. We've talked about that before. Went back together with no problem at all. New gaskets here and here. And it's ready to be reinstalled in the tractor. Do have a new gasket, of course, for the base here. Next step is I'm going to paint the bottom of it here with fresh paint. I don't have the paint yet. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes also. But other than that, this assembly is ready to go. One thing I found most curious about this is I was investigating parts. You can replace virtually everything on this pump. You can get complete valve chambers. That's these side pieces right here. You can buy those complete with the valves already installed. You can buy this this bushing right here, this brass bushing. You can buy the valve, the piston blocks on the inside. You can buy whole new pumps, the pressure release valve, of course, etc. What you can't buy, and what I was not successful in finding, is these valves right here. So you've got this one and this one. There's, again, two valves that work like this. I couldn't find those anywhere, and to the best of my knowledge, those are not available aftermarket unless you buy a whole new pump. And there's very little information on that, but I did find one little nugget out there that talked about the fact that these two valves are sized to the chamber. In other words, I suspect what happened, because the clearance on these has to be so tight. That is, they want them to seal well, and there is no O-rings or anything that seals these valves, so it's really a clearance fit kind of issue. Is what I'm thinking at the factory, they made these valves and machined them and then sized the bore. That's an insert you can see there and there. They sized the bore to match the outer dimension of each valve, maybe adding a thousandths to the nominal dimension of each one of these valves. So they're essentially line bored, and consequently they're not available aftermarket, because obviously you can't easily duplicate that in the field unless you've got the right kind of equipment. I probably could do it if I really had to with the mill and lathe that I have, but I'm not going to. They seem to work fine. They fit back together. They work the way they're supposed to, and I'm just going to go with what I have. But that was an interesting discovery for me, and again, my conclusion is these are essentially a match fit when they're put together. The pump body is ready to go back in, and it was an interesting experience rebuilding it. Not terribly complicated, actually, but I've never done one before, so I had to take my time and had no issues with it whatsoever. Let's talk about paint. One of the other things I've been doing is researching the paint color, particularly the red, for the original tractor. And as most things in life, if you talk to 100 different people of what is the correct red for this tractor, you might get up to 100 different answers. There's all kinds of information out there regarding what is appropriate, what isn't, what was original, etc., in an attempt to determine what red should be used. And there are many, many opinions, very subjective, of course, on this. What looks right to me might not look to right to someone else. And ultimately what I settled on is the red you see here. Some people might think that's a little bit too deep and dark red, but there's a rationale behind that. I found some research that had been done by someone a number of years ago, actually, who took a fairly original 8N, in fact it was his own, and he found some areas on the machine that the paint looked very original. It hadn't been exposed to the sun. This machine apparently had been stored inside, minimal fading, etc. And he ran it through a spectrometer and read the color content of various pieces of that tractor, and then compared that to various paints available in the market. He used spray paints such as this, and all different brands, every brand you could possibly think of. Rust-Oleum, Krylon, New Holland, Magic, Valspar, etc. Sprayed them all out, read them with a spectrometer, and the one that he determined closest matched the original dark red was the New Holland red, right there, 70780DS. That happens to be the number, by the way, of their spray version of this. You can also get it in quarts and gallons. The New Holland Ford red was more yellow than this. And his contention, and there's been some other conversation that actually supported his position, is that over the years, well, in the 50s it's known, in the 1950s, Ford actually transitioned their original red to more of a yellow red. They added yellow to it. And I think that was when we got into the NAA, Jubilee, 600, 800 series tractors. They lightened the red and they added yellow. And that's what you predominantly tend to see today, is his theory. And again, he is supported by other people in this contention. So that many of the reds we see today are a little bit more yellow and a little lighter than this, because that is more appropriate or was used by Ford in the 60s. His contention is the original red that was used by Ford was very similar to this, and this has no yellow in it whatsoever. And based on his research and reading others' comments, I agree with him. And this is a New Holland. This actually is the paint that went onto this chip. I just made this little chip for my own records, sprayed it out, let it dry, put a label on so I wouldn't forget. I do this with virtually all the paints that I work with, the silvers, especially for motorcycles, for the cases, wheel paints, those kind of things, wheel hubs, so that I have it for posterity. I've ordered 2 quarts of this same color. We use probably brush on the bottom of that hydraulic pump. But again, based on this previous research, am I looking at the comments and the conversations, and there's literally dozens of threads out there around color, very subjective, of course. I agree with him, and I think I'm going to go with this color. So as I gradually paint parts of my tractor, and I'm not going to do it all in one fell swoop, I'm going to use this color right here. This is a little bit hard to get. You can get the spray like this can easy enough, but the quarts and the gallons is harder to find. That's why when I found it, I bought 2 quarts right away, and then I'll have it when I need it. So that's the red that I've chosen, and why I've decided to go the way I have. I realize not everyone will agree with me, but that's fine. You paint your tractor the color you want. I'll paint my tractor the color I want. Let's move on and talk about the PTO. Here's the new parts for the PTO: bearing, bushing, and seal. These are the originals on the bottom: original bearing, original bushing, and the original seal. And as I talked about, I think in one of my previous videos, I went up to the bearing supply house in my area, where I've worked with many times on bearings for the various projects, particularly motorcycles I've worked on, and asked them to match this bearing. I thought this was a 6205. I was wrong. He took one look at it and said, nope, I think that's a 6206. So he measured it. Of course, the guy deals with this every day, so he's more up on this than I am. He took his little tool, measured this, and he said, yep, it's a 6206. I said, do you have one? And he said, I probably do. I said, I want a good quality bearing. I do not want a no-name knockoff. And he said that would be an SKF. They carry many different brands, NTN, SKF, and I think there's a couple others. But he said believe SKF is probably the best you can buy. SKF is a Swedish firm, largest double roll ball bearing manufacturer in the world. Plants all over the world, and this particular bearing is made in Europe. It's quite a bit more money than an aftermarket no-name, which I knew going in. But he did have it in stock, and that's it right there. I've not taken it out of the package. So that's a European-made SKF modern version of the original bearing, which again, actually isn't too bad. It's got a little notchiness to it, but it's not bad. It's held up really well. This bushing, this is the original. Here's the new one. The seal rides right here. Where the seal rides. And aftermarket available, easily a couple of bucks. It wasn't much. I think it was like $4 or $5, something like that. So I have the new bushing, and then the seal. This is the original. CR right there stands for Chicago Rawhide. And he recognized it right away. He said that exact seal is not available anymore. Long story short, he wasn't sure he could match this seal without a little experimentation. And I said, he didn't have it in stock. He would have had to order the seal, and we'd have to check it out. And I said, okay, let's just kind of forget that. He thought ultimately he could probably match it, but in the meantime, I went and ordered this seal, aftermarket. This happens to be made in Taiwan. Not real wild about that. Frankly, I would have preferred, again, a Japanese, American, or European-made seal. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, even though it's not my preferred condition, because that's essentially what I have available, short of doing a bunch of experimentation with my dealer on this. I now have all the parts I need to put the PTO back together, and I'm probably going to paint the housing when I'm done. In fact, I might even get to that today. I don't know. We'll see how my day goes. But these are the parts for the PTO hub to rebuild it and get it back in operation. The PTO will be the last thing that will go back into the tractor when I'm closing up the rear end and hydraulics. Well, as you can see, I got the hub assembly for the PTO shaft all back together and painted. This is painted with spray paint, by the way, and it's nice and smooth. Inside of there, I think maybe you can see the new seal down in there. This is the new bushing, and the bearing, of course, is inside the hub itself. I had no particular problems putting it back together. Of course, it helps having a 20-ton shop press. Now, this could be rebuilt without a press, but since I had the press, why not use it? Just makes it a little easier. I heated the main issue is putting it back together. I had to heat this, or I did heat this bushing up in my oven, my shop oven, before I attempted to press it on. Was that absolutely necessary? Probably not, but I had, again, the oven. Why not use it? And it just pushed together really easily, no problems at all. So this assembly is done, and now I'm going to set it aside, and it'll be one of the very last things to go back into the tractor, as I'm much further down the road on finishing up the hydraulics. I've got a lot of work to do before I get there yet, but it's all done. I thought I'd show it to you real quick here at the end of this video. That's going to be it for this video today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.